everybody, welcome to another episode of Sports for All podcast, and I'm your host, Aidan Byrne. Today we have another amazing guest. So, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
Thank you so much. So I am Christopher Enu from Ghana. I'm an educationist, a peace activist, and a golfer as well. So I'm from a background of sports enthusiast, and I'm a stern advocate of the Sustainable Development Goals as well.
Amazing, thank you so much. It's so good to have you. So can you tell us a bit about your sporting journey, how you've been involved in sport, and where your interests lie in sport?
So my interest in sports has to do with golf. And I got this interest from my parents, especially my dad. He was someone who's lived in Wales for some time and with a lot of interest in golf in the Wales. He became a very known golfer back here in Ghana. So most of the time he was going to the golf course. He would go along with a younger Christopher. So I would stand there and say, what is happening? Look at what is happening at the course. So it is true there that I also developed interest. And as I grew up, I also decided to take up that same course as my father did. And it has been really awesome. It is a sport that I've really grown to love. And it is what I still hold on to. I still believe that it is something that I can also pass on to my children because it embodies the resilience of my family. It is a sport that is able to bring a lot of people together. And as we would say in Ghana, the patronage of golf is very low. I believe that with time, and if we all put our heads together, we can show up and make a lot of people love the sport golf.
Yeah, I love that. I love how, yeah, like you started as a child and then like hopefully it'll be passed down generations. Like I feel like it's such a nice way to kind of like connect with people and like share those like really nice memories that you have as well of growing up. So my next question is, who have been some of your like big inspirations like in sports?
So people who are my motivation cut across various sports and disciplines. Because I'm a golfer, I'll be a bit biased here. Tiger Woods, yes, one of the pillars that I look up to a lot. In the area of football, soccer, I would say Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano,
Yeah.
because of his mentality, as a sports enthusiast, of the characters you can model a lot is Cristiano. He has a very strong mentality that even if it's the last few seconds left, he can make a difference, he can make a change. That is the kind of character that every sports person must embody. I also look up to Lewis Hamilton a lot, the F1. He's also very good at what he does. He puts in a lot of dedication, sacrifice. These are the characters that I look up to. They've really shaped my life in the golf world. It is true what they do, their dedication, their commitment, passion that they attach to whatever they do. So if it is something I'm doing that is in line with my sports career, that I find it very challenging. Immediately, I go through the icons of these people. I know that these people, they had a very tough mentality and they were able to go through. So let me also put in a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think that you're right. You can really learn a lot from their experiences. And I feel like sometimes whenever we maybe face challenges or lose motivation for sport, you can kind of really turn to them and be like, this is all the stuff that they've gone through. It can be really inspiring. My next question is, what skills have you learned from being a young athlete and how have they kind of helped you like as you've grown up?
One of the things that I have really learned growing up is hard work. Coming up from a background where you see your dad trying to make ends meet. Our home was not a place of comfort. They all had to struggle, sell a lot of things, trade a lot of things to make sure that we are able to complete school, we are able to make a living in our home. So coming from a background like that, there wouldn't be any bigger motivation than the struggles your parents are going through. That is motivation enough. You have to grow up, be responsible, rise up to the challenge, and come back to change the narrative. So that is what has really made me very strong from the humble beginnings that I come from. And even in sport, all of these greater sporting characters that we see, each and every one of them have a very humble beginning. They were once all started, and through hard work, through dedication, little by little, step by step, they are currently on top of the world. Cristiano Ronaldo's story is a perfect example for all of us. Someone who was born in Madeira. Madeira is a village in Portugal. And if you can imagine that someone from that little village can come to the sporting academy and then move on to become the best player in the world for I think 3 or 4 consecutive times. It tells you that no matter where you find yourself as a sports enthusiast, with dedication, hard work, and commitment, you can also make it. One of the things that is really a thorn in the life of young sports enthusiasts is disbelief. Sometimes you look at your immediate environment as a sports person and you question, am I really going to make the cut? Am I sure I'll make a headway in what I am doing? One of the things that I found it very, very essential to whatever I do is mentorship. I believe that just as I am putting in this hard work, dedication, effort, whatever that is needed for me to up my game, there are people who are also a bit up the ladder than I do. Why don't I sit down with these people, ask them how they were able to do it to get there? Why don't I take tips from them and then use that tips to construct my sporting life purposely? So that is what I do every day, and that is what has really, really shaped my life.
That is so inspiring. Thank you so much. I agree. I think like self-belief, dedication, motivation, you really learn a lot, especially from hearing others' experiences as well. It really helps you to drive forward. And so my next question, what have been some barriers and challenges that young people in your area face getting involved in sport, or maybe you have faced as well?
Okay, so the first thing has to do with training facilities. Training facilities is a major
Mhm.
challenge. It's not only in the area of one would expect that at this global age and time, that sports is really taking over. There's a lot of interest, and you know what, sport has become a unifying tool for the world. One would expect that a lot of training facilities for a lot of sporting disciplines will sprung up so that young people who have this interest in getting into those disciplines can get a good place to be able to sharpen their skills or their talent. But that is not the case. A lot of young people are confronted with having to improvise and to be able to train, which I think is not the best. Golf, for example, Ghana has about 16, and you have only one golf course in the whole of the country. I mean, that is pretty bad. Young people from the north, if you want a place to practice golf, you would have to come all the way down to the south, to the regional capital, Accra, before you can be able to train at the Achimota golf course. And I believe it's not the best. It will
Yeah.
even demotivate young people who might have interest in some of these sports not to. It's a problem. But it's only soccer that we are making progress a bit. And even with that, the standard that is expected of a modern day football pitch is not even in this country. So there's a whole lot of things that are wrong. That some of us, we are hoping and praying that just as we've gotten all these orientations, we grow up into certain leadership in the various sporting disciplines and trying to change some of these narratives that we think are very bad. Because it is one of the things that are hindering the growth of a lot of these young sports people in this country. And it is high time that we speak to some of these so that a lot of remedies are brought into the system.
Yeah, no, definitely. You're so right. Depending on where you live in specific areas, you either get those opportunities or you don't. And it can be really challenging for some people to navigate that, especially if you live really far away and aren't able to travel for different reasons. Resources can be quite limited. My last question is, what advice would you give to any young person who wants to get involved in sport, but they might struggle with confidence or motivation or self-doubt?
Okay, so the advice I'll give to them is that they should be mentally tough. The fact that you are coming from a humble beginning, the fact that there's no training facilities, the fact that people are telling you that you can't make it, you are not good enough, shouldn't be a yardstick for you to give up on your dreams. If it is your talent, make sure that you put in a lot of effort, you work very hard, be resilient. And I hope if you do all these things, you get there. You shouldn't joke. One of the things that I don't joke at all in my sporting career has been my training. Yes, I don't joke with my training at all. I put in my maximum effort to make sure that I am going up the gear. So they should also do that. And I hope the sky will be the limit for every young person. The future of sports is young people. And let's all
Absolutely.
put our heads together to make sure that we protect the various sporting disciplines that we have. Sport goes beyond just exercising on the field or bringing out your talent on the field or any other pitch or whatever. It is a social cohesion tool. It is a platform to bring people together. It is a platform to excite people. So let's make sure that we protect the sanctity of sports.
That is an incredible piece of advice to end on. Thank you so much. You've really inspired me, and I'm sure you'll inspire everybody else listening. I think it's so important to kind of have that mentality of like believing in yourself and keeping going despite the challenges. Thank you so much for being my guest. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. It would be great if you could give it a follow and if you could give it a rating. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne or on X at Eden71003.